thought we would talk about today is, you know how we're always talking about the goal is to get our patients to 100 with all their teeth. And I think more and more people are after that now. More and more people believe that that's possible. In fact, this week I saw 3 patients in their high 90s that were well on their way to making it to $100 teeth. And I was thinking about what are the things the most common behaviors that prevent people from getting there. And, you know, as I think about what I see every week, I mean, this list was pretty easy to compile. And I thought about doing a top 10, going from, you know, what would be the least likely to cause you problems to the most. It was very hard to order that. So I don't think I'm gonna put it in the exact order, but I will put emphasis on the ones that I think will get you there faster or get you away from getting to 100 with all your teeth faster. One of the things that comes to mind right away, and this is kind of an insidious process, and we've talked about this, would be an acid erosion process that would be affecting the enamel of your teeth. And this may be GERD, this could be sucking lemons, it could be, you know, a lot of people have a habit of putting lemon in their water, drinking very acidic beverages, even kombucha, a grapefruit habit of eating grapefruit at night. Something that is happening that's highly acidic on a regular basis where we see it eroding the enamel of your teeth is a very dangerous thing. You only have so much enamel and it has to last you your lifetime, and it's typically at most 1.5 millimeters thick, and we can look on the x-rays right away and see. I mean, I see people that are in their teens where they're already missing a significant amount of enamel, and you know the only way you get it back is porcelain, which means expensive dentistry. So we try to monitor that. Poor oral hygiene, there's a lot of examples of poor oral hygiene. You know, somebody that, you remember that article that came out about it's not necessary to floss, something to that effect, where there wasn't science backing that up. Well, I can tell you that is false. People who are not in the habit of flossing will lead to problems faster and be very unlikely to make it to 100 with all their teeth. And you know, this is something I say it's a highly disciplined activity. It is, I don't know if I could put a percentage on the people that actually do floss daily, but it's typically people who have learned the lesson the hard way. And once it's really cost them teeth or a lot of money and time, they become believers. And so I can tell you, this is something that is necessary. It's something to try to get in the habit of now, and brushing your teeth realistically 2 times a day. I mean, I have to brush mine a lot more because I'm in people's face all day long. But for most people, twice a day is a good thing. And you know, when I was younger, I used to remember, why am I gonna brush my teeth now because I'm gonna eat? Should I brush my teeth after I eat? And then I forget, brush them when you wake up, please. You don't have to brush again after you eat. And then brush them before you go to bed. And the idea is it takes a while for food stuff that may get caught in between the teeth to produce acid to cause cavities. So as long as you're hitting it 2 times a day, it's not gonna accumulate that long and cause a problem. So you can imagine if you go to sleep without brushing your teeth and you have eaten something and you're not a flosser, you're going to have things that are going to accumulate overnight and are going to sit there all night long, 8 hours or more, and that's going to lead, that's a bad habit. It's going to lead to problems. Smoking. I always say smoking and teeth do not go together. The tough thing about that is it's almost like if somebody were to tell me espresso is not going to get you to 100. Because I love my espresso, right? And I'll drink 2 espressos a day in moderation. But if I talk to my smokers and I say, the smoking is affecting your teeth, they look at me like, nah, that's not it. Just a matter of fact, it is. So I always tell my smokers, I'm not telling you need to quit, but I am telling you if you are going to smoke, it's going to be a very tough battle. It's like pushing a rock uphill. So I'm not a pusher. I'm not somebody who is going to get in your face and tell you what you need to do. But again, my assumption is that my patients are smart and they're going to do what's in their best interest. And I'm the resource to help them get there. Missing cleanings. Guys, this is a big one because the cleanings are one thing, but it's also a chance to get two sets of eyes on what's going on in your mouth. You may not get me to look at your teeth every time because most of the time my patients that are lower risk are getting a exam by me once a year. But my hygienists are highly, highly trained and their goals are the same as mine. We're serious about getting you 100 with all your teeth. So when they're in there, in every square millimeter of your mouth, they're going to find something if it's going on. And it's highly unlikely they're going to miss something, especially my hygienists are acutely trained to look for little problems that can add up to big problems. So the misconception is I don't have pain, I must be okay. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Please don't miss your cleanings. If we're seeing you every 6 months and then somebody who's a super high risk every 3 to 4 months, it's going to go a long way towards getting to 100 with all your teeth. And you know, I just saw a patient this week, 96-year-old. We're playing a lot of catch up with him because I didn't get to him until 96. And so I'm needing to see him every 3 months just to kind of babysit. And at this point, we're like, hey, let's not treat it unless it's actually broken. And there are a lot of issues with him, but you know, at 96, it's kind of hard to give him complete dentistry. So we have to babysit it more often. Clenching and grinding is another insidious type of thing. It's not something that's going to acutely get you to where you're in serious dental problems. More grinding is going to be that slow loss of enamel, whereas clenching can be more problematic more quickly. In fact, I have a couple of really good buddies that are friends and they come into the dental office and they have perfect teeth. They have never had a cavity. They don't smoke, they do everything right. They come every 4 months because they're crazy about their teeth, but unfortunately, the couple of individuals that I have in mind tend to be kind of really high stress individuals, nose to the grindstone type of people, and they cannot help but clench their teeth. And the problem is that they're clenching their teeth during the day as you're thinking about something or as you're driving, as it happens to be a lot of times. You can generate enough force to where you crack the teeth straight down the middle. And the frustrating thing for me is this is not something that I have too many tools. You know, what can I do as their dentist to prevent this? I've even thought as much of injecting Botox into the masseters to be able to prevent this clench response. And there are some treatments like that happening now. Or if you're doing it at night, of course you can wear a night guard. But let's face it, a night guard, if you're doing this during the day, is not going to help. Diet that is high in sugar, but especially in what you may be drinking, sodas, sweet tea, especially here in Florida. I just saw somebody this week who she sees me, and every time she sees me, because she doesn't come in for cleanings, I see her about once every 3 years, and she has a bunch of bombed out teeth every time. And it's kind of like the cigarette thing, where I tell her, you know, Joan, you need to stop drinking all the sodas. And she looks at me like she didn't hear me. And we kind of pretend like I didn't say that because I'm trying to take something precious from her, and she goes, well, if I'm going to drink sodas, what can I do? Like, well, what you can do is we can probably keep filling these teeth and doing crowns and doing root canals, because unfortunately they don't go together. It's not to say that everybody that drinks sodas can't keep their teeth, because I can tell you, we do see people who don't have a lot of problems, but that's the minority. They are the minority, and they are somebody who probably drinks one soda a day. But again, most people who even have a habit of drinking one soda a day have continual dental issues. And I joke with them, I'm like, oh, this is like an annual plan, it's like your insurance, you just keep paying me. And I'm joking because I don't want to see them, because my goal is to get them in maintenance. Once you're in maintenance, I joke with them and I say, hey, you're going to see my hygienist, you're going to miss me on my side. And they laugh and they're like, I love you, doc, but I'm happy not to see you. So the sodas and the sweet tea, and the soda's especially bad because it has the acid and the sugar. And patients think, well, I got a crown on that. It's not going to, it's protected. Well, the crown's protected, but the tooth underneath is not. And the soda cavities, I know them when I see them. They get onto the tooth and they spread. It's like a wrap around her. It goes around the whole tooth. And they're very hard to fix in a dental treatment. So it's one thing to come in and get a plan and have an idea of what needs to be done. But then some patients are the type where we can go through this beautiful plan and they'll look at me and they go, well, nothing's really hurting, so I'm just gonna wait. And they've missed the boat because I somehow miscommunicated. This is the plan. If the goal is to stay 2 steps ahead of a problem so we can get to it when it's least costly, more conservative, more predictable. You've heard me say that a lot. If you wait until I have to bail the tooth out, that is going to lead to the opposite. It's more expensive, it's definitely not predictable, and it's very invasive. So it gets to where they want me to be the hero, but I say, please don't make me be a hero here, because in the end, we're both gonna lose. You're gonna end up losing the restoration, and I'm gonna end up feeling bad. So I try to get an open communication with my patients, and again, look at what's best for them. And what's best for them is to follow through on the recommended treatment. And if it's an A, it needs to be done like when?
Yesterday.
It needs to be done yesterday. Yeah. And so if the earliest time you can get to it is next week or next month, well, that's better than next year, because our B items are things to do within a year or 2. And I really try to look at things and predict what I think are Bs, because people are dealing with their budgets and may not be able to do these things, even all the A's within a year, but at least if they have a plan, we have a chance of getting there with the least amount of damage over time. And this is kind of another category too of a behavior that will prevent somebody to making it to 100 with all their teeth, would be somebody who doesn't have a plan. Do you have a plan from your dentist? Do you know what the plan is? It is one of the things I really dwell on with my patients is, do you know what your plan is? And a lot of them do, which is fantastic. And I like to joke around and say, okay, this is on your refrigerator, right? You're crossing it off as we go. And some of them probably do that, which would be great. A lot of them put it away in their nightstand and they check it out from time to time. And sometimes they walk in with it and they have it scribbled off. And hey, this is fantastic. I love my planners, because it's one thing to have a plan. It's another thing to actually implement the plan. And so I can promise you, my hygienist and myself, every time I see you, when we're finished with something, I'm gonna look at them and say, what is the next thing that we want to take on? And I just stop, and if they look at me and they go, hey doc, I gotta rest for a little while. And I tell them, I say, okay, well, we still have 3 A's on your list, so I understand if you have to rest, but please understand that those need to be done like yesterday. and we need to figure out a way to try to get you on track for when we can get you back in to do the next thing. So in the end, it's going to be the least costly. Doing long span bridges instead of implants. And this is a tough one because implants, there are barriers to having them, but the barriers are becoming less as time goes on. So at the beginning, I did a lot of long span bridges. And what I mean by a long span bridge is if you're missing teeth, it's kind of like the jack-o'-lantern effect, right? You're missing teeth, you got a tooth here, you got a tooth here, you got a tooth in the back. Can I do a bridge, doc? And when I first started out 26 years ago, we used to say, called that a roundhouse. And you'd be at the end of the day like, did a roundhouse today. You prepare 4 teeth, but you put in 10. Now, back then, I didn't know any better. I would think, gee, that's great. It didn't take me that long, and I just put 10 teeth in, and you charge for 10 teeth. But you only have 4 workers there, 4 or 5 or however many you have, okay? So if we take it down to the smallest bridge, that would be a 3-unit bridge. You have the classic case where you're missing your 6-year molar, right? So your 6-year molar is the second one from the back, let's say on the upper right. That happens to come out, cracked it. You got 2 perfectly good teeth on the other side. And you're like, hey doc, can we do a bridge? Well, 26 years ago, that's exactly what I would do. Nowadays, I try to talk to patients about not doing that. And so that's a short span bridge. That bridge will most likely last. How long? 20 years maybe, if we're lucky. The right thing to do there, the standard of care would be to leave the 2 teeth alone on the other side and to do an implant. But it gets worse if you have a long span bridge. What if you're missing in front of that area, you have another tooth missing, and so now you have a 1, 2, 3, 5-unit bridge. So you have a 2-tooth problem, but you have 5 teeth involved. That has an even smaller prognosis. But the days of when we would do a roundhouse, that was malpractice. And I would tell you, I do not do anything like that anymore. Patients would try to talk me into it because, let's face it, it's convenient, it's easier, you don't have to go through the surgery, and they think that they're saving money. It's nothing further from the truth, because when that comes crashing down, we have a train wreck. And so at that point, you are a dental handicap. You have to have something removable, you have to have a denture, or you have to have a partial. So that is something to really dwell on and to try to talk with your dentist about. Doc, maybe I want an implant here. And I love it when patients tell me they prefer an implant because I know they've been educated. Our profession's been doing our job and getting the word out that that is the proper treatment. And these are good discussions to have with your dentist, and it's not inappropriate for you to ask the dentist what you would like or what you think would work best. It's a smart thing to do, and I have patients say that all the time. I have even 90-something-year-old patients say, Doc, instead of a bridge, I want an implant. And I look at them and laugh and I go, wow, I'm proud of you. And sometimes I stop them and I say, listen, in this case, I think we're okay with the 3-unit bridge, but it's still their decision. Well, there was one other thing on the list that I need to cover, and I did just see this week as well. And that is kind of a touchy one, and it happens. And this would be poor dentistry. So this would be if you may not feel you're vibing with your dentist, and you may not feel like you're getting ahead, and you may feel like over time you're having to redo a lot of dentistry that was just done, you could be receiving poor quality dentistry. And if you feel like that is happening, it's a good idea to get a second opinion and to not even bring up the story and to say, hey, I need a dental exam, and see if there's any hints or any evidence of ill-fitting dentistry, because dentistry can be very aggravating because it is a profession of fractions of a millimeter. So if something fits, it fits. If something almost fits, it doesn't fit. And so many times I'm having to redo things because we go to put a simple crown in, and I tell my assistant Hector, let's get a post-op. A post-op is where we say x-rays don't lie. So let's say I put my brand new crown in and I'm glad everything went well, the patient's happy, but then I look at the x-ray and there's a gap. Gaps kill. Then I have to swallow my pride and look at the patient and say, oh, we got a problem. Doc, what's the problem? Feels great. Well, the problem is on that x-ray, we teach our patients to read the x-ray. There's a gap there, which means that it may not last you as long as we'd like it to last. In fact, I know it will not last as long as we'd like it to. So you can imagine if you let the gap slide, and I always say if you let it slide once, you're going to let it slide again. So if you have a habit of letting the gap slide, putting them at a disadvantage, and do I see this happen? Yes. See it happen with the best of intentions, but if you are in a practice culture where time is money and the more patients you see the better, it's very difficult to go through the day and mind the gaps because it's easy to sweep that under the rug, and then when you see your patients over time, their dental health is getting worse, not better. And that's not a legacy that you can be proud of. So please make sure you're paying attention to the vibes that you're getting, your gut instinct from your relationship with your dentist and hygienist. And hopefully you're building something cumulative that is going to help get you to 100 with all your teeth.